Rumours of an Xbox gaming handheld are swirling big time. Could the next PlayStation console have a holographic display? Resident Evil 9 possibly going open world? And AI NPCs in games take another step forward. All this and much, much more in tonight's Monday Game Chat. Roll the credit.
It's the Monday Game Chat with your host, Clive Illenden.
Yokoso, yokoso, yokoso. Arigato gozaimasu. Welcome to the Monday Game Chat. You are indeed most welcome as we get down, settle down, grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, drink, whatever is your tipple, as we settle down and discuss all things gaming this week. As ever, let me know what you've been playing in the chat down there below. I always like to read it. Let us know your thoughts. We've got a poll going at the moment on whether you would buy an Xbox handheld. Specifically here, just to make a distinction, an Xbox handheld that plays games natively, like the sort of Steam Deck plays PC games natively, as opposed to a sort of a glorified G Cloud or something like that, a handheld that just plays cloud games. Let us know in the poll. Interact with the show. It is, of course, the Monday Game Chat. Today is Monday. We're going to be talking about game, and you are the chat. So you are, as ever, crucial to the running of this show. Let's say hello, of course, to some, the people at the, we used to say, didn't the people at the front of the mosh pit? Yeah, the people at the mosh pit. Jerome, the ever loyal Jerome. He's been at the front there, almost probably even day one at good old Jerome, and even before day one. I think he was a Lord Kensal fan before he was a Clive fan. That's our Jerome. So welcome, and do as Jerome says, hit the likes. Do you know why? Because I like it. YouTube likes it and helps people like you find content like this. Al Davis is in the house. Good to see you, sir. Sednar, good evening. Jerome's been on the old mobile games for me. He says Marvel Strike Force on the mobile. Good to know. So would, interestingly enough, Jerome, does the idea of an Xbox handheld appeal to you? Let us know. Let everybody know. Right. So, shall we crack on with the news? So, where should we start, ladies and gentlemen? Cyberpunk. Let's start with Cyberpunk. Just, why not? I'm picking news at random here from my list of stuff. For those of you that have not played Cyberpunk, now is the opportunity. A free trial is upon us. What is today? The 25th, 26th? Thursday? Well, calculations. So 26th is Tuesday. 27th is Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday. Look, a free trial of the base game, which is great. So if you've never played Cyberpunk, I highly recommend it. It is a great game. I haven't finished it, to be honest. Not that you've finished, but got through the main story. I got distracted. I was on a particularly difficult level that put me off for a while. But there you go. March the 28th until March the 31st. So the Easter weekend, that's the Easter weekend, or part of up to the Saturday, isn't it? Or the Sunday. So part of the Easter weekend, you get 5 hours of playtime. It's available for free, nada, and it's on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. No subscription required, anything like that. So if you've never had the opportunity of playing Cyberpunk, ladies and gentlemen, now is your chance. Let us know if you've not played Cyberpunk but want to play Cyberpunk, as opposed to not playing Cyberpunk and not really caring because you don't want to play Cyberpunk. I'd be interested to know if you just, never got around to buying it or anything like that. Again, put it in the chat. to hear. Suarez, Francisco Suarez is in the house. Yo, Clive, good to see you. Thanks to your Ultimate Day Pass last week, I played Cyberpunk in Overdrive RTX. I have to admit, Cyberpunk does look very, very good on GeForce Now Ultimate. Looks really good. That's where I play it. Of course, I first started playing it on Stadia. We've got to have a little Stadia shout out now and then. It was a great day. A great time when Cyberpunk launched on... why am I getting work emails? Anyway, sorry. When Cyberpunk launched on Stadia, because it was one of the best places, unless you had a high-end gaming rig, the best place to play Cyberpunk was Stadia back in the day on launch. Anyway, evening, Neil. Lovely to see you, sir. I definitely find Xbox handheld interesting, but I don't think so. I just finished playing Cyberpunk, playing the DLC next. Interesting, says Sanchez there. Interesting. Maybe I should get back to it. I've got a number of unfinished projects, as it were, in terms of games that I need to get back to, definitely. But yeah, if you are fancying Cyberpunk, then this Easter weekend seems the perfect time to play it, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so that's your Cyberpunk. Now, as many of you will know, I'm a big, well, you may not know, but I'm a big fan of AI and have a completely separate channel just dedicated to AI. Doing very well, thank you. Got some good news on the channel on Sunday morning, which is great. But anyway, and I've featured it before, and I've featured this company before as well. Let me just find it. InWorld. So, in fact, I even played it. So InWorld had a demo of their tech. So InWorld is a company that's developed gaming tech that basically allows you to create AI-powered NPCs. Now, I'd be interesting to sort of hear your thoughts, because I often see on Twitter, which I know is not maybe the best place to sort of get a sense of things, but especially when it comes to gaming. But people are so like anti-AI when it comes to gaming. They're like, oh, no, I don't want any AI near my game. Forget it. Or if a company says, oh, yeah, we're looking into AI, they're immediately like, no, not interested. And yet, look, I get it if it's used wrong, badly. But using AI for NPC characters strikes me as a brilliant idea. Like, it would mean that each interaction with a NPC would be slightly different every time, rather than pre-programmed. So anyway, InWorld have created this technology, which I've featured before on this channel, which not only creates the response, so the character is given a set of parameters in terms of the information and the style. With AI, you can sort of dictate how you want the AI to respond to you. So in creating an NPC, you can dictate how you want that NPC to respond, the tone of voice, all of that, the parameters, what information it knows, what information it doesn't know, what information it needs to impart to you. And then you can have a conversation with the NPC. And then you've got to link that with the mouth, the right animation in terms of the mouth movements and the character movements. And this is something that InWorld have been developing along with NVIDIA. And they had their great demo that I showed before on this show that demonstrated all of that, where a guy goes into... So I played this game here as well, where you interact using your mic, actually, with the NPC characters, and they respond. It was an investigation. So you get the idea, is that every time that you meet these characters, you'll get a different interaction, a different kind of response. And obviously the the lip sync, the animation of the lips and everything is all in line with what they're saying. So here we are, scenario A. In fact, we'll just play that and you'll get a sense of it. Let me just take that. So each time you kind of meet your NPC, or if somebody else is playing the same game, they'll have a slightly different response with that NPC character. Anyway, it's developed further from when I last talked about it. And there's this whole video here. If you're interested, let me know. Watch how NVIDIA and in-world AI bring AI characters to life with NVIDIA ACE digital human technologies and the in-world engine. So this is about combining the AI voice generation with the AI, with the character animation and seamlessly knitting them together. Now, what's particularly interesting about this is it's already being deployed or sort of looked at in terms of large developers. So I just Ubisoft here how Ubisoft's new generative AI prototype changes the narrative for NPCs. So basically, they say here, have you ever dreamed of having a real conversation with an NPC in a video game? Not just one gated within a dialogue tree, because that's normally what happens. You know, it's a dialogue tree, isn't it? If you say X, then it says Y, and it's always the same. It has a set responses. NPC, somebody has to write in all those responses, and they're all set. Whereas with AI, all you have to do is create the parameters of that character, and then it will respond in natural language. So not just one gated within a dialogue tree of predetermined answers, but an actual conversation conducted through spontaneous action and reaction. Lately, a small R&D team at Ubisoft's Paris studio, in collaboration with NVIDIA's Audio to Face, which I just talked about there, and in-world's large language model, again, I've just talked about in-world, have been experimenting with generative AI in an attempt to turn this dream into a reality. Their project, Neo NPC, uses Gen AI to prod at the limits of how a player can interact with an NPC without breaking the authenticity of the situation they're in. And that is the key, of course. You want to feel that you are in that world and it responds accordingly. And that's what they've been working on. What this means is the personalities of these NPCs aren't created by a machine, but by a writer who shapes their character, backstory, and conversation style. Yeah, that is all still written by a writer, and then continues to tweak once the learning language model starts improvising the dialogue. So the point I'm raising here is I've talked about NVIDIA and in-world and the technology being made available to publishers and developers. Well, Ubisoft, as ever, always at the forefront of grabbing, technology, whether it's being part of the cloud revolution, joining up with Stadia and all that kind of stuff. Originally working on Project Cloud with Google, with their Assassin's Creed Odyssey as the sort of the trial before Stadia became a thing. So we've already known that Ubisoft always love to be at the forefront. And for a company like Ubisoft, who are known for their heavily character-driven games like Assassin's Creed, it would be very interesting to see what they do with it with an Assassin's Creed type game where you meet loads and loads of NPCs and characters. What would that feel like in an Assassin's Creed world? Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. Let me know your thoughts on AI in gaming in the comments down below as ever. Back to Xbox here, which we'll come to now. Although I'd like a handheld, I'm more excited for Wi-Fi Direct controller. Yeah. I think a handheld will come quicker than a Wi-Fi Direct controller. Personally. That's just my thoughts on it. Right. So, yes, as I said, big news around the Xbox rumours. In fact, no, before that, let's do this. So this was interesting. I came across here. I'm not sure exactly how this will work, but it says Sony could, this is according to Game Rant, Sony could be working on a holographic display for its PlayStation consoles. A recent Sony patent publication reveals development work on a holographic display system that potentially could be used with PlayStation consoles. So is this actually on the console itself? And then you get a little, maybe a little sort of screen at the top of your console, and then it creates a hologram, like, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. Help me, Obi-Wan, a little Princess Leia hologram at the top that you can interact with. Is that the concept they're thinking of? I don't know. Sony's holographic display system patent could revolutionize gaming with 3D avatars and interactive interfaces for PlayStation consoles. So it seems it would sort of sit as part of the console. The patent showcases unique UI integrating holographic projections, physical touch, and hand gestures for immersive gameplay experiences. Now, obviously, this is just a patent. So years down the line, they just want to, get their dibs on this patent before they, take it too far. It goes too public. There's no guarantee this holographic interface or other patents will be released. A recently published patent reveals a holographic display system in development by Sony, which could possibly be utilized with video game consoles such as the PlayStation series. And then what you've got here, how does this work? The Sony holographic interface patent development. I'm trying to work out, here's the person. Are they the holographic? Oh, I see. It sort of comes out the screen here. You can see this picture here. So the hologram would come out of the screen, or appear to be at the screen, and you can interact with it maybe. It's got this clock, comes out of the screen, and there's a character behind it. 3D and interactive. And here we are, here's the example of the clock. And it's got priority target by face recognition. So whoever's looking at it, obviously to create that 3D effect, you usually have to be right in front of a holographic thing. You have to be right in front of it to get the effect. So they're obviously creating the technology. That means you could be to one side and then it focuses on the person that's looking at the particular hologram or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to work it out from this sort of weird pattern. But that's what it looks like. How that would work, and interact, and what use it would be on a console, I don't know. But they're speculating here that it could be something that would work on PlayStation consoles. Let me know what you think. Imagine if you had a handheld with a little holographic thing that popped out in front of you, said, "Do you need any help?" Imagine a little character in 3D space just in front of you. Kind of cool, wouldn't it? Anyway, let me know again. Let me know your thoughts. Comments down below. Jerome says AI is going to take over everything. It's going to be fundamentally threaded within our lives. Yeah, without a doubt. Neil says, I think I'll stick with PC handhelds. More flexibility. Yeah, why not? Right. So let's get into it. Let's get into the meat and gravy here. Xbox. So the rumours are, and the rumours have been swirling around for a while, but it seems to have been given fuel by a recent interview that Phil Spencer from Xbox gave. So Xbox is prototyping a native, and that's the key thing here. That's why I put it in the poll. A native Xbox handheld, which I think if you're going to go into that space, I mean, obviously have the facility to play cloud, but we know how good Xbox Cloud is. And clearly the Steam Deck has demonstrated there's definitely an appetite for playing, you know, AAA games on the go, taking them with you. I mean, I never really quite got that concept, but clearly the Steam Deck is super popular. And the reason is because the games play natively. So it makes sense that they go down that route, obviously with the capacity to play via the cloud as well. So according to Jez Corden of Xbox 2 podcast, he's claimed that Xbox is working on a new native Xbox handheld. He says, I know they've got handheld prototypes right now, according to Corden. That these are new prototypes and not the old prototypes often referred to. Now, it doesn't, obviously prototypes don't necessarily mean the new products are coming to market, but Xbox pursuing a handheld isn't that surprising. And of course, you factored that in that Xbox president Sarah Bond on the official Xbox podcast a sort of month or so ago said, we've got more to come. There's exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. We're also invested in the next gen roadmap, etc., etc. So there's that. There's Jez Corden saying he's absolutely sure an Xbox handheld is coming out. But there's more people, there's more to this story. As Xbox official handheld rumours swirl, Phil Spencer reveals what he wants from it. What should we build that will find new players? That is the constant question on Phil Spencer at Xbox's, Microsoft, of course, Microsoft's mind. What do they need to build, whether it's the next gen console, a mid-range console, a handheld console? What do they need to build to find new players? There's lots of rumors about, you know, the Xbox console market stagnating a lot. And you've just spent $78 billion on Activision Blizzard. So you've got to shift some units or get people playing those games somehow. So anyway, speaking in an interview with Polygon, Spencer discussed various existing PC gaming handhelds. He's a big fan of the handhelds, listing everything that he would add to the experience of using them to make them feel like an Xbox. This includes having access to all your games with associated save files, being able to boot into the Xbox app full screen but in compact mode, and having all the social experiences normally found on an Xbox. Absolutely crucial. Like, I want it to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television, Spencer said, except I want it on those devices. Now, he danced around the existence of an Xbox handheld throughout the interview, insisting hardware innovation linked with software innovation creates a real inflection point in our industry, pointing to the success of Nintendo Wii in the process. So he is a big fan of the PC handhelds, the Steam Decks and things like that. So, yeah, it was this particular interview with Polygon and his sort of almost not a refusal to deny, but his sort of vision of what he thought a handheld should deliver to consumers is what sort of fueled the whole speculation around whether or not Xbox will be producing a handheld. Jerome is right. AI, yeah. The Xbox hardcore fans have lost faith in the brand. You certainly get that impression on Twitter. A lot of people go out of their way, which is interesting because, I see some so-called Xbox commentators and me think the lady doth protest too much. They go out of their way to be anti-Xbox. Like, do you know what I mean? It requires effort. Like I always say, like hate requires effort. Whereas aloofness or not being bothered doesn't require any effort. So, Xbox are going to bring their, first party games to PlayStation. And it's annoyed you. All right. So fine. You don't have to make don't have to go on about it. But some Xbox commentators seem like they're personally hurt. It used to be the same with Stadia, like somebody at Stadia has actually personally come up to them and slept with their partner or slapped them in the face. And that's how they respond. They're like absolutely hurt to the brunt. It's like, it's just a company. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Move on, As, Jerome says, he feels it. Many people have articulated Microsoft has undermined the Xbox brand. I think they've certainly diluted it, but with the view to making it available. It's not the sort of sole narrow console only world that we once knew, or that culture that we brought up with, PlayStation console, the Nintendo console, the Xbox console, and that was it. Gaming is much more kind of, what's the word? Like an octopus. It's much more free range, free flowing, organic. And therefore you have to kind of break free of the shackles of just being narrowly focused. I think this is Microsoft's perspective. They can't compete with PlayStation if the game is just how many boxes can you sell, right? They've tried over the 20 odd years that Xbox has been around. They can't compete. If it's how many electronic boxes you can sell and that's it, they can't compete. So they need to change the game, and the game has changed. And the game is, how do you get to the next, billion players? How do you get to the next generation of players? Where are they choosing to play? It's not us old fuddy-duddies who, still have our kind of console only heads on, or the PC master race. It's like people are more likely to have all the consoles, or play PC gaming and on Xbox and stuff like that. Play in the cloud. There's so many more options. And so now it's about making the Xbox brand a gaming brand. I'm assuming this is how Microsoft is thinking. A gaming brand rather than narrowly focused as a console brand. And I think that's their thinking. And I think that, they've accepted that they'll never compete with PlayStation in console numbers. Have you heard of Better xCloud by RedFX? It enables touch controls for all games, adds supports for custom controls, and lets you change things such as brightness and clarity. No, I haven't. Let me have a look. I did see someone saying okay, here's on Reddit. Introducing Better xCloud, a user script to improve xCloud gaming on the browser. Yes, I did. I saw something about this and I sort of glanced over it, but this is clearly what it is. This is a bit like that app the guy did for Stadia, isn't it? Switch region of streaming server, prefer IPv6 streaming server, force HD stream, skip Xbox splash video, make the top left dots icon invisible while playing, change video settings while playing. That's cool. So it must work. It must work on the. So this is it. It must work on the browser specifically. So here we are. You can see he's changing the server. You can alter some of the so it's making changes to the browser and how it delivers the experience to you, that visually and stuff like that. It's interesting. I wonder if it's still in beta. Crazy. xCloud's still in beta. I wonder if Xbox will take on board any of these factors and stuff like that. Have you tried it, Al Davis Music? Sednar has. He says it's amazing. Is it easy to install? Source code and info. It's over on GitHub. How to install. So it's all here. If you're interested, what I'll do is I will leave that link for anyone interested, and they can report back to me what they think of it. Good shout out, Al Davis and Sednar, who's recommending it here. I contributed custom controls for the Quarry, Doom 64, Doom 3. So you can put customized controls for specific games. Now that is cool. Because you might want to put things in different places because of the way the UI is. The thing with mobile phone controls, on-screen controls, are that they've no idea what the user interface of that particular game is. So you might have the control right over the top of, I don't know, a map or something like that. So if you can put custom controls, very cool. There's an Android app for it as well. Yeah, I think the xCloud app has got slightly worse xCloud than when I first tried it, when it was in beta. Well, it is in beta form, but before it was public beta. But when they rolled it out more widely, it was pretty good. But I don't know. I don't know if it is. It's just stood still. Maybe it's not worse. Maybe it's just stood still when you have experiences like GeForce Now Ultimate, which is, my go-to when it comes to cloud gaming. Maybe that's what the issue is. Anyway. I'm just checking my news here. Yeah, we've done that one. Handheld, yeah. Right, Resident Evil. I found out. There we go. The community. If I knew how to work Discord, we could have a Discord community going, couldn't we? Well, I know how to work Discord, but if I'd spent some time, if anybody's interested in that, it seems to be the thing, isn't it? If you've got a gaming podcast like this, or, Anyway, Resident Evil 9. Big fan of Resident Evil 8 and 7, to be honest. Resident Evil 9 could go open world thanks to Dragon's Dogma 2. Let me know if you played Dragon's Dogma 2. It's not normally my cup of tea, but I think I'm intrigued by it. If I get round to buying it, or, somebody kindly sends me a code for it, I might get Lord Kensal to do some streaming of it, because it's interesting because my GeForce Now video that I did last week with the news, it's done considerably more views than it normally gets. And I think it's driven by the popularity of Dragon's Dogma 2, which is the sort of the main title and thumbnail. It's interesting. It's interesting, you know, you can sort of tell the popularity of a game by how well that's released on GeForce Now, by how well my GeForce Now News Roundup does. I mean, arguably, very disappointed roundup. There were 3 games. In fact, no, there was meant to be 3 games. And then at the last minute, there were 2 games. One of the games they were meant to have has been knocked into next month. So it ended up being just 2 games, 2 new games, and a Battlefield update. I think that was it. But that one game, Dragon's Dogma, is what really, you know, pushed the views on that video. Anyway, let me know if you've played Dragon's Dogma. I've heard some interesting things about it. Capcom's new open world RPG, Dragon's Dogma 2, has just enjoyed its first weekend on the market. And as it turns out, the title could mark a new open world direction for the Japanese developer from Capcom. According to prominent leaker Dusk Golem, another rumor leak, the Dragon's Dogma sequel is already informing the direction of the next Resident Evil game. Yeah, apparently the open world tech behind Dragon Dogma 2 is helping drive development on 2 other Capcom titles, Monster Hunter Wilds, which makes sense, and what makes less sense slightly, but would be interesting, Resident Evil 9. Decent examples. Here's a little tidbit I'll share. Capcom often greenlight new initiatives in 3s close together. For example, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2 and DMCV were all greenlit fairly close together to take advantage of the new Resident Evil, the RE engine. Dragon's Dogma 2 expanded RE engine functionality for open world games, and 2 other game building on this tech is Monster Hunter and Wild and Resident Evil 9. So it seems that their RE engine has been expanded and developed specifically for these open worlds. And so here, Dusk Golem is thus speculating that since they do these things close to developments of their underlying RE engine, that since they've got the functionality in the engine, Monster Hunter Wild, which I said would make sense as it is an open world already kind of thing, but also they're speculating Resident Evil 9. How that would work, I like the narrative linear driven, I like the linear driven narrative of Resident Evil 7 and 8. The issue you have with open worlds is the story is it can get a bit ungainly, I find. So, you know, you're sacrificing that linear drive of the game, which I like in some games. I like my games to be story-driven, narrative games, you know, with side quests, whatever. But if you lose focus, then yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments, as ever, down in the comments below. More, talking of brands here, who remembers, obviously Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. Xbox has reached an agreement with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro developer Toys for Boys for their new game. This is an exclusive on Windows Central. Toys for Bob, known for handling Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, is now working with Microsoft on their first game since going independent. So, Obviously, this is to do with the Activision Blizzard King acquisition. And in that was legendary studio Toys for Boys, who worked on franchises like Skylanders, Spyro the Dragon, great Spyro the Dragon, and Crash Bandicoot across the 30-year history. Last month, Microsoft and Toys for Bob agreed to part ways, with the latter spinning out into an independent company. So Toys for Bob, no longer part of Activision Blizzard. Independent. Microsoft retains ownership of Skylanders, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro IP and other properties. But our sources have confirmed that Toys for Bob have now finalised an agreement with Xbox to fund their first title. So they've gone independent, left the Xbox fold, and now they're independent, have agreed to develop a game for Xbox. So Xbox are funding their next game. And they make lovely, platforming games. Really good, fun. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Skylanders. Good platforming style games. Great little games. We kind of miss games like that a little bit. Do we really? Are there examples of games like that? Now and then. Now and then. But the whole Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were great games. Did you used to play them? Let me know in the comments down below. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Came across this. I thought I'd done a link for it. Never mind. It's all right. Let's catch up. Here we go. So, yeah. How about, right, looking to get away? Maybe. You obviously need a nice hotel to stay in, right? Don't you? You're going to go to somewhere? Well, how about a gaming hotel? Yeah? A hotel dedicated entirely to gaming. Yes, please. So here we go. And where else, of course, than Japan, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't find their original website. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, it is in the town of my partner, Osaka. Yeah? The esports hotel. It's called Izoni. And in it, I'm trying to, these are, sort of small rooms. So you've got capsule rooms, but I want to see the toilet. Here we are. Here's a room with two gaming PCs. So you and your partner fancy a trip to Osaka? Get yourself booked into the esports hotel Izoni. E-Zone. You get gaming PCs in your rooms. There is a whole floor of gaming PCs. Bring all your mates. So there's a whole lobby just of gaming PCs. Everything. Now, the esports hotel Izoni. Everything you'd ever want. Forget the Love Hotel. Get yourself to the esports hotel in Osaka. There's a standard cabin. So you got your cabins, and then you got a twin room with private bathrooms. So if you've got your sort of like your capsule hotel elements, plus you got rooms. Okay, let's say I'm going to go let's imagine I'm planning to go to Japan, hopefully Osaka, in May. Let's say, for instance, go May, Wednesday, for a week. Crazy. 2 adults, yes. And we want a twin room. You know, you've got a female dormitory as well. So you've got a dorm room. You've got cabins. You've got dorms. So the cabins in particular dorms are the capsules, sleeping capsules. So you've got female zone and a male zone, which makes sense. Here we are, twin room. There we are, bargain. Does that include the flight? Jesus. 6 nights. I suppose that's not 200. That's 200 quid a night. That's not too bad, is it? For 2 of you. Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? Oh no, that's a quadruple room. 4 single beds. Shower, bidet, toilet. Brilliant. I'll try and find more pictures for you because it's not really doing it justice. Let me know. Would you fancy staying in a gaming hotel? Probably get a headache. My age. Let's make sure. I don't want to get this. This woman here is playing in it. It's not playing there. Anyway, what do you think? If it does play, I'll let you know. A gaming hotel. Crash and Spyro games were fun and had revolutionary graphics. They did. They did. They were like... There was a... Am I just dreaming? It was a phase when those sort of platforming games were super... Banjo and Kazooie, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. They seem to be the dominant game. They sort of had mass appeal and worked really well. We don't really get them. I mean, you get like Ori the Wisp and those sort of things and are interesting, a few arty independent games, but nothing that's sort of super... that breaks through. I guess it was off the back of, you think about it, Mario 64, which was the king of those sort of 3D platformers. And then PlayStation had to have their own version, which I guess was your sort of, was your sort of Spyro and your Crash Bandicoot. They were sort of Ratchet and Clank, that kind of thing. That was very PlayStation, wasn't it? They needed a sort of their version of a 3D platformer. But there was certainly a phase when 3D platformers like that were the mainstay when it came to console gaming. But I guess consoles have got so powerful now, and with the rise of the FPS and your Fortnites and your Call of Duties and stuff like that. And as gamers have aged, I would also argue, I would argue the first generation of gamers in the kind of console period, your PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, that kind of stuff, were probably a younger demographic, I would argue, than now. Because what's happened, a bit like the music industry, rock and roll and pop and rock, what's happened is you had a whole generation, when we were teenagers playing them games, our parents probably never weren't interested. What are you doing playing those games? Whereas now you've got a whole generation that have grown up, and if there's anything like me, you couldn't wait until your kids were old enough so you could play the Wii with them or play Nintendo with them. You know, how old do they have to be to start playing Mario Kart? I mean, I remember, you know, frustratingly playing Mario Kart with my son when he was 3 or 4. And now he can go on a 5-hour streak of non-stop wins on Counter-Strike 2. Being sworn at by Russians and whatnot. Because he's, you know, him and his mate just keep winning. But yeah, so I think the demographic of gamers has grown. You'll always have new young gamers coming in. But I think the upper age limit. In fact, there was an article actually talking about that. I'll just find it. Grandma Gamer Scotland. Find the article. I want to find the article. Here we are. So I've featured a grandma gamer on this channel ages ago. There's an American woman, quite famous, and she was into gaming and stuff. But there's an article I read recently on the BBC website here. Grumpy Gran, age 75, is global Fortnite gaming sensation. A 75-year-old Scottish grandmother has become a video gaming sensation after teaming up with one of the world's most famous Fortnite players. Kath Bowie, a.k.a. Grumpy Gran 1948. Now, you see, that's like an annoying teenager from 15 years ago who always puts their date of birth after their game tag. I hate that. Don't be one of them people. Anyway, I'm assuming that's her gamer tag. 1948. She's doing well, isn't she? 75. Do the maths. Yeah. Works out. She's been hooked on Fortnite since being introduced to it by her grandson. She spends 6 hours a day playing online. I mean, what else are you going to do in your retirement? I can't wait. I can't wait to retire so I can just play games all day and make YouTube videos all day. I mean, you know, what's not to like? It's not the young, you know, it's a young man. Tell you what, mate, it's a young man's game. It's a young man's game. No, we'll keep playing. Like I said, it's like aging, you know, in 1956, Bill Haley and the Comets burst, you know, rock and roll burst onto the scene. It culturally, and Elvis in the late 50s, yeah, and appealed instantly to teenagers, yeah, the then American teens, and then, you know, slowly, globally, other teens. In fact, the word teenager didn't exist before 1956. I think the word teenager was coined in 1956 as a result of the start of the rock and roll phenomenon. So you didn't have older people into rock and roll. You had these young people into rock and roll. And then that's the sort of start of the rock and pop industry that we know it. And now, you know, 50, 60, 70 years later, that upper age limit has grown. You've got aging rockers, you know, like who are still into the Rolling Stones and whatnot and all this kind of stuff, as well as all young people coming into sort of pop music and, you know, popular music and all that. But the upper age limit just grows, and it's exactly the same with gaming as a popular culture. You know, it came in aimed at young people, but those young people have got older, still like playing. Same with, you know, comic books. Now those people are making films. The people that were into comic books when they were kids are now older people making decisions about what films should be made, making what I would call serious versions of comic book films. appealing to a much, a wider age demographic. Anyway, I think hopefully I got the point across there. This Scottish grandmother has a squad of thousands of devoted fans all over the world. And she's teamed up with Cypher PK, who'd heard about her. And now she's got this massive following. 9,000 followers. Don't know if that's Twitter or Instagram. But yeah. Presumably she's streaming on Twitch. But she loves playing your Fortnite. She even teams up, right? She got fed up of teaming up with randoms and, trolly teenagers and whatnot. That's the only drawback, the toxic language. She says here, I just happened to go into the room. This is when her 17-year-old son was playing and was rather intrigued by what I saw on the screen. And that was the beginning of it. She practiced in solo games for 3 years before joining squads in streamed games. But she didn't like some of the toxic language. I can get that. Used by younger gamers. Learned behaviour. So she set up her own teams of older players. There was a Swedish esports team of old folks, I seem to remember. I remember talking about it with Rock on the old Generation X Gamers podcast that we had. One of my favourite podcasts that was. We don't use the word kill, we use the word eliminate, so it's not so gory. When I started streaming, I wanted to have squads. I didn't really have anyone I could play with. When I went to play with random squads, I really didn't like what I was hearing. It was quite toxic. I like the language she uses as well, like toxic. For like a 75-year-old woman wouldn't necessarily know like the term toxic. In that way, it's quite a modern term to describe behavior or language, and it comes from that gaming culture, doesn't it? But the fact that she just seamlessly uses it, she's picked up on that gamer language. So I decided if I've streamed, I would choose the folk that I played with, never realizing it would take off like this. There we go. You're never too old to game. I was a fan of Banjo Kazooie, yeah. And Conker's Bad Fur Day. I love Conker's Bad Fur Day. That's on Xbox, isn't it? Could play it now. But I remember on the Nintendo. What I didn't like, and it was probably because they probably didn't have the same sort of budget. It was Rare's last swan song on the N64. And I think Nintendo just sort of turned a blind eye and said, sure, look, you've delivered us GoldenEye. You've delivered us, I think it was Donkey Kong Country and all that. They were one of the first non-Japanese companies to have an exclusive with, a first-party deal with Nintendo. And they delivered. And they certainly delivered on GoldenEye. Really pushed what the N64 could do. And so I think Nintendo sort of said, okay, we'll let you do what you want to do, and we'll turn a bit of a blind eye to it. And yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day was great. Again, another sort of 3D platformer type thing, with swearing and drunkenness and craziness. What I didn't like about it, though, was the actual acting performances. I kind of let it down a bit. And I felt like they probably used people in the office, from the developer team to do the voices here and there, rather than hire proper, actors. That's the impression I got anyway. And that was the only thing that let it down. Although they must have hired an operatic singer. If anybody if you've played Conker's Bad Fur Day, you know what I'm talking about when it came to the requirement for an operatic singer, because there's a particular big boss in there that sings opera. If you know the game, you know what I'm talking about. Let's just say, very, very much, well, literally toilet humour. That's all I'm going to say. These days I've been going back to platformers thanks to Handheld. Great place to play a platformer, isn't it? Our console's reaching the end of the road. I think there's, life in the old dog yet, as long as they innovate or they continue to deliver experiences. But I think gaming will, diverse. I still talk about Oddworld with Abe, yes. I'll be more tired than retired. Yeah, that's the thing. I got my 7-year-old dad to watch Halo and he loves it. Well, there's this other old folk gamer, Grandad Gamer. I think I've featured him on this show. He's an ex-veteran. He's in his 70s or something like that. And he loves playing your FPSs, especially when it comes to sniper, because I think he was a sniper in real life. And he knows exactly how to snipe. He fires that bullet. He knows the trajectory because, in some games, like PUBG, and so, they've got that proper trajectory of the sniper shot. And he knows where to fire it so it drops, bang, and you get a hit. Conker was published by THQ on the N64, not Nintendo, funnily enough. Yeah. What was more about is that they let them get away with stuff that perhaps wasn't Nintendo family friendly, is more the thing. But yeah. The opera singer was one of the devs. Chris Seavor. Yes. Yeah. It's a great game. It's just the performances I didn't like. Apart from the opera singer, apart from Chris. So you learn something every day. Thank you for that, Al Davis. You learn something every day, especially when you watch this show, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Anyway, if you're not sure, check out Conker's Bad Fur Day operatic. Put that in YouTube and all will be revealed. No spoilers and all of that. Anyway, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's another show. Let's have a look at the poll. We're going to end the poll. Would you be interested in an Xbox handheld device that played Xbox games natively? 60% of you said yes, and 40% said no, and that's on a poll of 15 people. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. 60-40 on the old poll. Anyway, as ever, thank you for your contributions tonight. Thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate it. We've got the GeForce Now news coming on Thursday. No doubt there'll be a details of all the April games. So that'll be interesting to see what delights, because there wasn't a lot really last week, as I said. So it'll be interesting to see what delights we're going to get in April on GeForce Now. So look out for that on Thursday, 2 p.m. UK time, with the GeForce Now news. And I'll see you the same place, same time, next week here on the Monday Game Chat. Have a wonderful one, and I'll see you around soon. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Monday Game Chat with your host, Clive Illenden. Don't forget to hit the likes, subscribe, and consider becoming a member. Hit the join button today.